Imagine you're a landlord trying to evict a tenant who hasn't paid rent in months. But over time, the situation shifts from a dispute to a takeover. The tenant replaces the locks. They build an unapproved wing onto the house. They start running a multi-million-dollar business out of your living room while you watch from the sidewalk, too afraid or too accepting to do anything about it. This was the literal reality of the Tocorón prison in Venezuela. For over a decade, the state didn't run this prison. The prisoners did. In 2011, facing a wave of uncontrollable prison violence, the Venezuelan government entered into a form of hybrid governance. To prevent bloody riots, the government handed internal control to gang bosses known as pranes, hardened prisoners and born killers. The deal was simple. The gang bosses maintained order inside the walls, and officials did not intervene. But surprisingly, something went wrong. By 2014, they had seized total autonomy over the complex. Heavily armed inmates, equipped with military-grade weapons, expelled the prison guards entirely and transformed Tocorón into their own sovereign criminal headquarters. The inmates called it Casa Grande, the Big Home. Under the leadership of the gang Tren de Aragua, Tocorón stopped functioning as a jail and started operating as a private, corporate city. Every single inmate was a revenue stream. They were forced to pay a weekly protection fee directly to the gang leaders. It was simple. You paid to stay alive. This internal tax alone funneled millions into the gang's pockets every year. But the real money was on the outside. From behind these bars, leaders coordinated a continental criminal empire. Kidnappings, vehicle thefts, and sophisticated cybercrime rings on WhatsApp and Facebook were all managed from the comfort of their cells. In a bizarre twist of reality, victims' families would often have to travel to the prison, not to visit a relative, but to negotiate ransoms with the men who stole their cars or kidnapped their loved ones. Within these walls, money bought everything. Better food? Pay up. A better room? Pay up. A day pass to leave the prison and return by nightfall. Everything was for sale. Only after 9 years, on September 20th, 2023, the facade finally crumbled. The Venezuelan government launched Operation Cacique Guaycaipuro. 11,000 security agents descended on Tocorón. This operation was completed in roughly 5 hours and met surprisingly little resistance. The reason? Because the top leader had already vanished. He and his inner circle used a sophisticated network of tunnels to flee with their cash and weapons days before the first boot hit the ground. What the soldiers found inside was surreal. Instead of a prison, the complex looked more like a twisted luxury resort. There was a professional baseball stadium, a swimming pool, a betting shop, and even a nightclub named Tokyo. They found a mini zoo with flamingos and ostriches, a makeshift bank for inmate loans, and even rows of high-powered Bitcoin mining rigs. This was a fortress housing 5,500 inmates, but also their wives, children, and extended families, all living inside a criminal utopia, protected by rocket launchers and hand grenades, just in case. The government called it a crushing blow. But experts warn this wasn't the end of Tren de Aragua. It was just a relocation. With the leadership still at large, the big home is gone, but the business has simply moved to the shadows of the mining enclaves and neighboring borders. The landlord finally took back the house, but the tenant is still out there, and he's looking for a new place to stay.